Do you have what it takes to become an anime or manga translator? Coming up. Hello and welcome back to the Freelanceverse. Thanks for coming back to the channel. It's time for another specialized episode on the channel, a very highly requested one. It's about manga and anime translations. You will see in a second when we head to the panelists that I had to record this in the middle of the night because we had people from the US, from Australia, from Japan, so all over the place. I'm very grateful that it happened, and hopefully you guys are happy that it's out because it's so interesting. It's such a niche specialization that a lot of people working with Japanese are interested in. So I hope this will, gain some traction in this community. Feel free to share it with your peers. I hope you can learn something from it. Before we head into the discussion, as always, the Specialized series is sponsored by MemoQ. Thank you so much, MemoQ, for sponsoring the channel. It helps out a lot. I really appreciate it. If you're in the market for a CAT tool specifically for freelance translators that helps you improve translation quality, increase productivity, and to meet tight deadlines, then make sure to click the first link in the description that leads you directly to their landing page. Now let's get on with the video. So welcome back everyone to another episode of Specialized on the channel. A very special episode today because it's literally 1 a.m. where I am, and that is because we go very much to the Far East today. We talk about manga and anime. So we have 3 experts here today that work in this field, and we are literally spread across the world. That's why we had to find a time zone that works for all of us. So we have Rychelle, Cindy, and Tom here. Thanks so much for making the time. It would be great if you could all introduce yourself to the viewers so they know a bit who you are. Rychelle, would you like to start?
Hi, my name is Rychelle Brittain. I'm a Japanese to English entertainment translator specializing in subtitle translation. I'd always wanted to translate, and I studied languages at university, but I was too afraid to go freelance. So I actually did a bunch of admin and reception work first after university. But when COVID hit, a long-standing Japanese subtitling school started offering their courses online, and it just felt like all the stars aligned. So I signed up for the year-long course, and with this esteemed school on my resume, I began getting real translation work within the year. That was back in 2022, and I've been freelance translator ever since.
Okay. So that was quite a strong start and quite a smooth start and transition. Okay, nice. Cindy?
Sure. I'm Cynthia Caraturo. I am relatively new to the field of translation. I started, I believe, towards the end of 2023. So this is like my second full year as a professional freelance translator, Japanese to English. Most of my work has been in manga, which has sort of been kind of like happenstance. It just sort of worked out that way. Like Rychelle, I also took advantage of the year-long course that she's referencing, and I'm sure we'll dive in deeper into that later. So a lot of my training was in subtitling, and I was kind of unsure if I was prepared enough to enter into the field of manga because the course just has maybe like a few classes that delved into that. But because I've been a fan for a while, I also just sort of had an idea of what's expected from like the community. So I took the jump and been translating since.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I definitely will want to hear more about that course. Yeah. Tom, short introduction about yourself.
Sure. My name is Tom Gratwohl. I, after living in Japan for 12 years, doing all sorts of different things, I decided to move back home to the States, where I spent my first year kind of full-time freelance translating. And I'm mostly specialized in doing subtitle work as well, but I do a lot of stuff for the music industry, as well as some sort of IT startup stuff. And I am currently in Sydney, Australia for the next year and a half. But yeah, I'm continuing my freelance career and hoping to keep that going as long as I can.
Where did you live in Japan?
I spent the majority of my time in Niigata, which is sort of northwest of Tokyo. I spent 8 years there, and then my last 3 years I was in Tokyo. So kind of all over the place.
Yeah, nice. All right. Yeah, I'm always interested to hear how people got into the industry, right? And now we heard twice that Rychelle and Cindy, you both referenced this course. Maybe Cindy, can you tell us a bit more about what this is about? How did you find out about it, and how did it go
Sure.
exactly?
Interestingly enough, I had seen a tweet from Rychelle about the course and how, ever since I took the course, I've been able to find work. And I was between jobs. I had just moved to a new state in the US and I didn't really know what I wanted to do career-wise. So I was like, well, I have the money, I have the time, I might as well take the plunge and see where it goes. So it's with JVTA. And please correct me if I get the acronym wrong, Rychelle. Japan
No,
Visual Media Translation Academy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's right.
Okay, great. And they offer a 2-part course in Japanese to English subtitle translation with a few courses of like manga and other things thrown in there, but mostly subtitle translation.
And Rychelle, what would you say it would be a good background that someone would have to maybe to start this course or to in general get into this industry, both academically and professionally? What do you think it takes?
I don't think any professional training is required per se, but I believe Japan likes its workers to have a bachelor's degree in anything, really. It's like a basic expected requirement of most places. I think it just shows you have the resilience to stick something out long term. But I think in the translation industry, what's most important is really experience, which for subtitling I gained through that year-long JVTA course. Otherwise, I think I would recommend anyone interested in subtitling to familiarize themselves with the Netflix style guidelines. They're available online and they seem to be the industry standard nowadays anyway.
Okay, nice. And what areas of manga anime are you working in? I forgot if you mentioned it before. Are you focusing more on anime, right? On subtitling?
Yeah, so I specialize in subtitle translation. So that's, that includes anime, live action, drama series, movies, concerts even. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And these are always Japanese to English?
Always Japanese to English, yes.
Yeah. I think all of you have worked with this combination, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. All right. And Tom, how was it for you? How did you find your way in? Like, what was your first project like, for example?
Yeah, most of my work has actually been live action as well. I've done a number of anime projects as well, but it was really kind of lucky for me. I knew that I wanted to do translation in some form. I had started off doing music industry stuff, doing lyrics for songs, articles for magazines, things like that. I'm a musician myself, so I sort of wanted to focus on that. And actually, the first gig I found was on Upwork, of all places. A really small agency looking for translation for a Netflix series. It was a live action series. I applied with zero experience and got the gig. And I think just being really lucky with that allowed me to, have proof that I've done this before and sort of build up from there. And since then, I've been onboarded with one of the larger Netflix vendors, and most of the projects they've given me have been anime related. And I feel like I might be kind of the odd one out here where I'm not actually a huge consumer of that form of entertainment myself. I like a lot of it. I have huge respect for the art form, but it has been kind of new and interesting for me to wrap my mind around how the translation goes, as it is a lot different than live action stuff. And as I think we'll get to later, there is a crazy fan base that want things to be a certain way, and you have to sort of adhere to that when they come after you.
Exactly. Can you talk a bit about the differences between live action and anime that you see?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, for me personally, it's just sort of the style. Like, my favorite part about this work is being given, in a way, free rein to sort of put your own creativity into it and decide how these characters are going to sound, what their personality is going to be in English, which can be a lot different than their original in Japanese. You obviously have to retain the original. But I think in anime especially, it's a really hyper stylized form of entertainment. The dialogue is really over the top. It's a completely different thing, and I think that requires you to approach the translation from sort of a different angle. It uses a different part of your brain, I think, than normal translation. It allows you to be sort of creative and have fun with it, and get kind of crazy sometimes. So yeah, it's been cool, and I think I've gotten better at it as I've done more and more projects, and some have been pretty straightforward, and some have been extremely difficult for a number of reasons. So kind of all over.
Yeah, that must be tough, because like in the Japanese context, you probably have this kind of over the top personality that is very much, the consumer knows that it's linked to this style, right? But then transferring this into English must be quite tough, right? And we do come back to that question a bit later. Cindy, Tom just said that he's in a preferred subtitling, like Netflix subtitling provider, right? For you work mostly with manga, you said. What are the common clients for you? Do you work with agencies, with publishers?
So far, I've just worked directly with the English publisher. I really only have one main client for manga at the moment, because I ended up having a baby like right when I started out. So it was sort of like, oh, great, throw everything at me, why don't you? But that's how life goes sometimes.
Okay.
But yeah, it was sort of, and I think this is kind of in the same vein of Tom, where like you just sort of, there's a bit of luck involved with getting work sometimes, right? So a friend had sent me over like an editor position at the publisher. So I thought, okay, I'll throw my hat in the ring, send my resume. I won't expect to hear anything, because generally you don't hear anything back. And then maybe a month later, they were like, hey, we're still looking through resumes, but I saw you do freelance translation. Would you want to be a translator for us? I said, yeah, sure, of course. Like another month passes. I'm like, well, that's a dead end. Forget that. And then an editor got back to me, hey, I was told you're going to join the team as a translator. Great. What titles do you want to work on? And it was a bit of a back and forth before I was finally handed like my first title. So even when you think like, I'm not going to get this, I've tried so many times to apply to this job or that job, you just have to keep like going for it, I find.
Yeah,
or even in like the strangest places like Upwork, like who would have thought anything for Netflix would come up on Upwork? That's like a crazy story to me.
Yeah, super lucky.
How is it for you, Rychelle? Who are you mostly working with?
I mostly work with agencies as well. My very first actual proper job, I think, came through Lancers.jp, which is similar to Upwork, but it's Japan based. And that was a direct client who wanted me to work on what was it? He was initially making a documentary about Hokusai, who was the famous Japanese artist who did the famous wave of Kanagawa. And he was also making a documentary on the making of that documentary, if that kind of makes sense. So that was my very first actual job as a translator, freelance subtitle translator. But otherwise, yes, I work for one of the biggest Netflix providers as well, and I get most of my work through them.
Okay, nice. Do you have something to add to what Tom said? What are some common problems, some traps in this type of content? He said it's mostly stylistic that you need to look out for. What are some other challenges that you face in your daily work with this type of content?
I don't think anime translation is so different from translating regular media. I I guess one unique thing for anime, at least, for anime that's to be dubbed into English, is sometimes you may have to translate to match the mouth flaps of the animated characters. So it's not just matching the length of the audio, which you would do in voiceover, but it's also the mouth flaps. I don't actually do much of that work myself. It actually sounds quite terrifying to me. But it might actually fall more to the dubbing director, because then they're actually in the recording studio with the voice actors and they can say, hey, this line went a little bit long, we need to edit this a little bit more. But it is something that you may have to keep in mind. And it is something I think we may have covered in JBTA, or that might have just been for narration.
No, that's correct. We did do some dubbing in the course, doing dub scripts and trying to match up the flaps of people's mouths talking. Yes.
Wow, okay. How was that? Can you share a bit about that?
Oh, that was so tricky. Oh my gosh. There were some where it's like, okay, this is at a good tempo. I can figure it out. And I think there was like a scene where I don't remember if like the character was like on the side, like running across the screen and speaking at the same time. It was sort of fast and the rhythm was a little strange. And I was like, I have no idea how to make it sync up properly.
That must be so tough. Okay. But that's cool that you get to experience that in like a training environment, right? And then you can see, is it for you, is it not? Because I assume it would then require much more additional training, right? Was probably kind of an introduction, and then I mean it's a different job as well, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I often get asked by clients if I offer dubbing, and I always say no, I have no idea. Especially with my Swiss accent, when I would if I dubbed the German series, I don't think they would be happy. So I'm not even attempting that. Tom, can you maybe share like a particularly challenging project you worked on? Maybe I can imagine like there's a lot of cultural nuances, maybe jokes, puns, etc. Do you have some experience in that? Something?
Yeah, actually the first anime series that I worked on last summer, the name was Shikanoko Noko Noko Koshi Tantan, which is absurd. I think they changed it to like My Dear Friend or something in English. But the whole show it's a comedy show, and it's like very, very meta. So it's making fun of itself. It's making fun of other anime. It's taking tropes from anime and making fun of them. And it is just packed full of Japan humor that, 90% of would go over the head of someone who wasn't familiar with Japan, or, a fan of anime or something. So that just required like extra hours of sort of research of trying to figure out what some of these things are, some of these like name drops that they're doing. It was just extremely, Japanese to put it simply. So it required more of sort of like a localization mind than just a translation mind.
Yeah. And that goes kind of into this community that you said before, right? That there is this unique judgment, like given for Japanese English translators in this community, because there is a lot of people. Correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of viewers of the content that prefer when it's translated in a more westernized way, and then another part that likes these Japanese kind of things that you only know when you're in the culture, right? Can you share maybe a bit how you handle this?
Sure. I mean, just a quick add-on to that, the series that I just talked about. I actually went on the subreddit for that show to see if people were talking about it. And there were tons of people like freaking out at how bad the subtitles were. It was a nightmare. I felt terrible. And I DM'd a couple of these people to sort of explain myself.
Oh no.
And I never heard back. I don't think they believed me when I said that I was the translator.
Okay.
Yeah. People were angry with a few of my choices. Yeah, it was funny.
That's such a unique thing, because that usually we don't get public feedback ever, right? So it's both cool that you get to see that, but it's of course heartbreaking because you spent hours on like making these decisions. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It's definitely discourse I've seen, and it's quite a complex topic. Fortunately, I haven't experienced it much myself, maybe because I work more on drama series. Also, something that's unique to anime, I guess, is that we generally have the manga translation already out and somewhat official guide to go by. So if anyone complains about the way something's translated, sometimes we can fall back on, oh, that's just how it was in the manga.
For sure.
So I definitely have great respect for manga translators being out there on the front lines like they are. I do want to point out that the people who criticize anime or manga for being quote unquote unfaithful, they're not entirely wrong in all cases. But what it comes down to is a difference in target audiences, I believe. So the people who are overly critical of unfaithful translations, they tend to be these intense fans of Japan or Japanese culture. They want to learn or are already learning the language. And they're essentially consuming this media not just as a piece of media to enjoy, but also as a means of learning the language. Meanwhile, the companies that release them, they want to make the most amount of money, so they want as broad an audience as possible to enjoy it. Their desired target audience doesn't really care for a supposed faithful language rendition. They're just there to have a good time. So these two different target audiences have these two vastly different expectations. Translating for either audience is neither right or wrong, but they do have different outcomes. So, for example, Fansubs are more likely to have those little translator notes at the top of the screen with fun little bits of trivia that end up glossed over in an official translation. And that's because with Fansubs, it's expected that the audience has the time and the inclination to pause, stop the video and read those little notes. But an official translation would need to take into account for the fact that their audience probably isn't interested in all of that, and they just want to sit down, watch a show. It may also be playing in cinemas where you obviously can't pause and play as you please. And that's the reason I think why anime and manga can seem over-localized to some people. It's simply a matter of being a different target audience.
Can you quickly explain the concept of fansubs? Where would people be able to see these?
So I think a lot of people would have grown up with fansubs from the 90s and the 2000s. Essentially, a fansub is either a single translator or a group of volunteer translators who, take their own time to translate a series as like a passion project. They're not paid for it, and they're technically illegal. Obviously they're not official, but yeah, they're basically volunteer translators going about their own way. They don't typically follow the industry subtitling standards. So you can have really long sentences, you could have very fast reading speeds, and the fansubs are more likely to include things like honorifics, things like san, chan, even Japanese words that have kind of infiltrated the English anime sphere, things like notice me senpai or oni-chan, big bro. These are the things you'll see in fansubs that you probably won't see in official subtitles. And that's because of industry style guidelines.
Okay, I see. So it would make sense then to have, like, in streaming services, the option to change between, like, subtitles for fans and subtitles for normies.
It'd make a lot of people happy, I think. Yeah.
I think it would, yeah. It would definitely cost a lot more though on the side.
That's true. But you might have more audience. I don't know. Because I just imagine, like, if I wanted to get into this, like, I want to watch my first anime and then the subtitles are super confusing, that would probably put me off, right? So it's probably hard to get new people in when the subtitles are not localized or over localized, let's say. Yeah, I would probably need explanation of most Japanese localisms. So yeah, I can see how that can be tricky to, I mean, in the end, I guess you as official translators, you have no choice. You need to adhere to the publishers, right? But you probably still can kind of walk the line between I might just get this sentence in, just a little nudge at the people that know what it's about. So it's a nice little responsibility you carry in that media localization. That's nice. Cindy, is there like a favorite anime project or manga project that you would love to work on? And if so, what is it?
Oh gosh. So like if I could have gone back maybe in time and started earlier, I would have loved to have done anything by the manga author Ai Yazawa, who has done one of her more popular titles is Nana, which is about two young women who go to Tokyo. They share the same name and how their lives play out together going forward. That was one of like my favorite titles growing up. I bought volume after volume. There came a point, I think, where they started shrink wrapping them because it gets, I guess, more mature for mature audiences, and I wasn't quite old enough for that, but my mother didn't know any better, so fine by me. Yes, anything by her, but I'm pretty sure she's still on hiatus at this point. I know maybe she was dealing with some sort of illness or medical issue, and she never took the pencil back up, so to speak. So maybe someday she'll get something new. That's my hope.
Yeah. Someday, and you will be there, I'm sure.
I'll be waiting. You better believe it. Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay, guys, the time is already running out. This has been so interesting. It has gone so fast. I like to end these videos with a word of advice for people watching out there. And I know that there will be very passionate people watching because I've been requested to do this video for many times. So if all of you could just give your piece of magical advice that will solve everyone's problem that you wish you knew before you started. Tom, would you like to start?
Sure, yeah. I guess advice for anyone, I hope that I can be an example in that I didn't really have any official schooling or education on subtitling or translating, and I've been doing okay. It's a learning process. But yeah, I think like we covered earlier in the video, it does require a lot of persistence to get into the industry. If there is luck involved, I suppose, things can fall into your lap, but anyone who's trying to get into it, reach out to every single possible person you can find on the internet to reach out for work, network with people. Yeah, I think, if you're passionate about it and you want to do it and you're serious about it, it's open for anyone to get into. It obviously requires pretty advanced knowledge of the language that you'll be translating like anything. But yeah, I'd say don't be put off by lack of experience or lack of education, because I think it's accessible to anyone who really wants to do it.
That is great. Yeah, that's great to hear. And a lot of people will be happy to hear that. Yeah. Thank you. Rychelle?
I guess I would say set your rates high to begin with. Don't let yourself fall into the trap of fighting over. Yeah. Don't let yourself fall into the trap of fighting over bottom of the barrel rates. You'll only waste your time and effort, and you'll lose out on higher paying work. Just because you're new doesn't mean you don't deserve a decent wage. Setting your rates high also automatically filters out lower quality clients. It's the people paying peanuts who want the world from translators, but it's the clients who are willing to pay for quality that are going to be the most understanding of this occupation.
Very well said. Nice. Thank you. And Cynthia, to close off the video.
I think the thing that has helped me the most getting started has been finding others in the community of Japanese to English and English to Japanese translation, because they're already in the trenches and getting work, right? And like Tom said before, networking is incredibly important, and it shouldn't be undervalued, because sometimes schedules get full and now someone has an opportunity that they can't do, but they could recommend someone, and you could be that person. So definitely always reach out. If you, let's say you're reading a manga, flip to the back or to the front, wherever the translator will be credited, look to see who translated it. Don't be afraid to reach out to them. Hey, how did you get started? Do you have any advice? Anything. It's always worthwhile, I think, to just reach out.
That's brilliant advice. Yeah, I haven't thought of that.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. And of course, to all the viewers, I'm going to put all the links to the panelists down below in the description. So feel free also to reach out to them, follow their advice that they've just given, and do the networking. They're really lovely people and happy to interact, definitely. Yeah, and let me know in the comments which episode of Specialized you would like to see next. Now, finally, I've done this, so hopefully everyone who gave the comments at every single video previously is now happy. This was very fruitful. Thanks to all of you, and I see you next Monday with the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.